Welcome to Legalology 268. My name is Susan Jarvis. Today's episode is the first in a three-part series touching on the topic of lawmaking. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about that document commonly referred to in the House of Parliament as a bill. Stay tuned. In this video, which is part one of two parts, we are going to be looking at two specific focus areas. The first focus area will be, what is a bill? I will tell you everything you need to know about what a bill is. And the second focus area, we will be looking at the various types of bills with specific emphasis on constitutional amendment bill. What exactly is a bill? Well, simply put, a bill is a legislative proposal for a law. Now, this proposal may be for a new law, or it may be for changes to be made to an existing law. If the bill is for a new law, then what would normally happen is you would see the bill being titled by the name of the bill, followed by the year in which the bill is being introduced into Parliament. So, for example, a new bill could be referred to as Litter Bill 2022. If the proposal is for changes to be made to an existing law, then the bill will be referred to as an amendment bill. Now, using the same example we used previously with litter, if it is that we already had a Litter Act and the government was proposing to make changes to the existing Litter Act, then the bill that would go before Parliament would be called the Litter Amendment Bill 2022. So you see the word amendment is located in parentheses after the title of the bill. And that usually would give an indication that the bill is an amendment bill and not a new bill. Please note that if the proposal is accepted by the majority of the members of Parliament, then the bill will be passed, and depending on whether or not the bill has to go through one house or two houses of Parliament, it would then become law. So we are now on the last leg of our last focus area for today's video. And here we are going to discuss the types of bills. You already know what an ordinary bill is because we've been discussing that throughout. An ordinary bill is practically a proposal for a new law. You also already know that an amendment bill is a proposal for changes to be made to an existing law. So we're going to focus now on the money bill and the constitutional amendment bill. A good example of a money bill is what we know as an appropriation bill, which is basically the bill that is introduced in Parliament that outlines the government's budget of expenditure for the financial year, or for the upcoming financial year rather. So a money bill would just consist of a lots of figures and not necessarily sections with subsections and provisions as we've been discussing throughout. Let us now take a look at a constitutional amendment bill. Before I even go into explaining to you what a constitutional amendment bill is all about, I think it's very important for you to understand, first of all, what a constitution is and the importance of a constitution to any country. Now, the constitution confirms the independent status of any country. As a matter of fact, the Constitution is regarded as the most important legal principle and source in a country because of the adherence to the theory of constitutional supremacy. And in case you may ask what constitutional supremacy is all about, basically, the constitutional supremacy means that the constitution of a particular country is the most important law of that country, and all other laws are inferior to that of the Constitution. Any law that is being passed in a country must be in accordance with the Constitution. So therefore, the Constitution is regarded as the parent law by which all other laws are measured, and it is therefore a yardstick by which the validity and the authority of law in general are measured. Constitutions also govern the exercise of power or authority in the state. And by way of information, just in case you want to read a little bit more about Constitution, the information I have contained in this part of the video was sourced from the Commonwealth Caribbean Law and Legal Systems by Miss Rosemary Bell Antwine. So you can always try and find that book. It's on Amazon, and you can read up a little bit more about this topic. So now that we understand the importance of a constitution, we need to understand the significance of a constitutional amendment bill. Now, all the constitutions in the Commonwealth Caribbean contain provisions for entrenchment. Now, basically what entrenchment means is that there are certain provisions that are in the Constitution that cannot be altered except by a special majority of Parliament. And usually it's a 2/3 majority of the members of Parliament. In some instances, any alteration of the Constitution can only be done by way of a referendum. And even if a referendum is conducted and the results of the referendum are favorable, the bill that is prepared, which would be the constitutional amendment bill, that specific bill would still need a majority of members in Parliament to agree to it in order for the Constitution to actually undergo any sort of change. There is what we call a Constitutional Referendum Act. Antigua and Barbuda has one. There's also one in Grenada. And I think you will recall that in recent years, both Grenada and Antigua, they held referendum in order to allow registered voters to decide if they wanted to change from the Privy Council to the CCJ in order to become our final appellate court. Well, I think you already know that by now, in both countries, the referendum or the referenda that was conducted in both countries, it didn't pass, and so the Privy Council is still our final appellate court. Now, all this goes to show is to let you know that unlike an ordinary bill that you can go and amend and it becomes a simple amendment bill, when we are talking about a constitutional amendment, it is not the sort of amendment that you just do that way with an ordinary bill. It requires a special procedure and a special type of bill because you're talking about making significant changes to the parent law, the bedrock, the legal bedrock in any country. We have now come to the end of today's video. I would like to thank you so much for watching this video, and it is my hope that you learned something very informative today about a bill. Please look out for part 2 because it promises to be even more educational and enlightening. If you haven't already done so, please click the subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Bye!